In this lesson, we will learn about a class of materials known as biological molecules. They are often called the compounds of life. Biological molecules are present in all living organisms and include fats and oils called lipids. In addition, proteins, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates are large natural polymer molecules present in all living organisms. They are formed from naturally occurring monomers. For example, amino acids make proteins. Compounds called nucleotides make nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. Sugars make complex carbohydrates. A nucleic acid is a biomolecule found in all plant, animal and human cells. Ribonucleic acid, called RNA, and deoxyribonucleic acid, known as DNA, store cellular information in all living cells in the form of what is called the genetic code. Every person's genetic code is different. The code in your cells determine the color of your eyes and hair, as well as every other feature of your body that is unique to you and only you.
The nucleic acid, DNA, is composed of monomers called nucleotides. A nucleotide is composed of a nitrogen base, a sugar, and a phosphate group, as shown in the structural formula below. Cytosine is one of the 4 nitrogen bases used to form DNA. The nucleic acid polymer, DNA, is composed of nucleotides that have the same 4 nitrogen bases. They are known as adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. Scientists identify these 4 bases by the first letter of their names, A, G, C, and T. A single DNA molecule can have thousands of these nucleotides arranged in any number of sequences. The exact sequence is the genetic code. It is different for each person. The structural formula for a section of the DNA polymer is shown in the diagram. The dotted lines show hydrogen bonds, which hold the 2 strands of nucleic acids together in a coil-like arrangement, called a double helix.
A molecular model of a section of the DNA double helix is shown in this animated diagram. Lipids are fats and oils that contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms. Like hydrocarbons, lipids are nonpolar compounds that are not soluble in water. Lipids have a long carbon chain connected to a CO2H group. These are called carboxylic acids or fatty acids. Neutral lipids in animal fats are fatty acids combined with glycerol to form compounds called fatty esters. Fatty acid lipids can be saturated molecules with only single bonds between carbon atoms. Bacon contains the solid saturated fatty acid known as stearic acid. It has 18 carbon atoms as shown in the diagram of the structural formula and molecular model. Fatty acids with 1 or more double bonds between carbon atoms are called unsaturated and are usually liquid. For example, olive oil contains the unsaturated lipid called oleic acid. Oleic acid has 18 carbon atoms, but has a double bond between carbon atom numbers 9 and 10. This makes the molecule have the bent shape shown in the diagram.
A carbohydrate is an organic compound that contains the elements carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbo stands for carbon and hydrate for water. Simple carbohydrates are sugars. There are many different kinds of sugars. Some can be bought in boxes from the grocery store, but many are also present naturally in foods such as fruits and milk. Carbohydrates are used by cells to store and release energy. The simplest carbohydrate is glucose. The molecular formula is C6H12O6. The structural formula for glucose in the diagram shows how the atoms are arranged. Carbohydrates with only 1 carbon ring are called monosaccharides. A complex carbohydrate is a long-chain polymer made up of simple carbohydrate monomers. Starch, cellulose, and glycogen are all built up from glucose monomers, but the monomers are arranged differently in each case. Starch and cellulose are found in plants, while glycogen is present in liver and muscle cells. Complex carbohydrates have many carbon rings, so they are called polysaccharides.
These diagrams show how glucose forms different polymers. In plants, trees, fruits, and vegetables, the polymers have straight chains, as in the cellulose polymer. Branched chain polymers such as glycogen are formed in animal and human liver and muscles. Proteins are long-chain polymer molecules, formed by connecting amino acids together. The structural formula for glycine is shown in the diagram. Glycine is the simplest of the 20 common amino acids that occur in nature. Proteins are made in human cells by a complex process involving DNA. The DNA directs the amino acids to combine with each other in a very specific sequence, to produce the desired protein for each organ. For example, the protein collagen makes up skin, while hemoglobin is the protein in blood that carries oxygen to our cells. Other proteins contract muscle tissue, and fight viruses and bacteria that invade us.
Proteins in nature have a helical structure, like a coil. The dashed lines in this protein molecular model represent hydrogen bonds. This type of bond holds the atoms in the coil-like structure as shown in the diagram. In summary, all living organisms are composed of biological molecules that contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sometimes sulfur and phosphorus. Nucleic acids, proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates are the main compounds of life. Biological molecules are formed from amino acids, sugars, long-chain fatty acids, and nucleotides. Research on biological molecules leads to an understanding of the causes and cure of human diseases. This presentation was produced as a public service to help middle school and high school science teachers develop experiments, presentations, and demonstrations that can be used in their classes. More science experiments and demonstrations are available on the Tops of Santa Clara Valley website, www.topsofscv.org. TOPS, Teaching Opportunities for Partners in Science, is a program aimed at stimulating greater interest in science by middle school students.